Parallel teaching is one of the three most effective co-teaching approaches. Similar to station teaching, its recommended use is frequent. In parallel teaching, both teachers divide the whole class into two groups and lead the same instruction. The groups do not rotate. But before we dig in, let's remember that when conducting small group instruction, an always recommended strategy is to make sure that the small groups are fluid. That means it's changing. This is according to co-teaching expert Dr. Friend and John O'Connor. Fluid groups means changing up the members of the group to prevent stigmatization, which usually happens when one teacher pulls the same group of students, usually those with disabilities or who are struggling, while the other teacher sees the rest of the class. We should avoid this. Let's look at a lesson example of parallel teaching in middle school. In a 6th grade English Language Arts class, the class have read the first 4 chapters of Bridge to Terabithia by Katherine Patterson, and it is time to check for understanding and analyze character traits and themes for the novel. So during co-planning, the general and special ed teachers pre-plan the discussion questions that they will facilitate in their respective heterogeneous groups. Questions like, do you think Jess and Leslie's friendship is believable? Why or why not? What evidence supports your view? Have you ever been friends with someone who is different than you? Take a moment now to jot down your thinking, then share with a partner. See, using this type of prompt is an example of opportunity to respond for students, also known as OTR, where all students get a chance to capture their thinking and discuss it or share with a partner. While all students are having a conversation with their partners, the teacher in that station is circulating and listening. As the teacher hears an idea or two from a pair that she wants the whole group to hear, she can say something like, I love how you two added to each other's thinking. Can I invite you both to share when we regroup in a minute? To emphasize, inviting students to think, pair, share is a great strategy to get every student to have an opportunity to respond, versus calling on one student at a time, while the others just sit and listen. Let's look at another possible use of parallel teaching, this time in a science class. It could start in a whole group, where students have observed and participated in several demonstrations of reversible chemical reactions, those that go to completion and chemical equilibrium. Then the teachers split the group in half. The one on one side of the room faces the special ed teacher, for example, and the other half faces the general ed teacher. Conducting parallel teaching offers several opportunities. It increases the number of times that each student can respond during teacher-led instructions. It also increases instructional intensity by ensuring that each teacher has an active role in the classroom. Lastly, it permits teachers to assign students to groups to minimize behavior problems. At the same time, we need to consider the challenges, as noise level may rise and teachers need to discuss tolerance of noise level with each other and with their students. It also requires attention to timing. Teachers need to pace the lesson accordingly. Finally, parallel teaching is only effective if the teachers can offer equivalent instruction to students, usually reserved for review or discussion after initial core academic instruction. Here's an example of implementing parallel teaching. Grouping students based on interest, where one group reads a passage with a sports theme and the other with a music theme. Or by groups of students based on the project. So using the same unit, one group prepares multimedia slides and presents to the whole class, while the other group writes a skit about the topic and presents it. We can even offer choice for students, depending on their interest or the project that they choose to complete. Another implementation example is in history, where students work on point of view. Two teachers can introduce the cause of the Civil War by having one group, led by the special ed teacher, for example, to learn about perspectives of the states that seceded from the Union, and one group led by the general ed teacher or the regular ed teacher to learn about the issues of slavery and human rights. After the two groups complete their lessons, the whole class reconvenes to conduct a debate. Notice how parallel teaching could be useful in exploring multiple points of view. This concludes parallel teaching.